things are getting bad. And if anything, they seem to be getting worse at an accelerating rate. I think most people watching this video would probably agree with that to some extent. It's just harder to find a lot of the things that our parents, our grandparents would have taken for granted. Things like finding a suitable partner to have love and marriage and children, finding a home, actually owning a house, even finding a job that just pays basic bills. These things are all getting harder, you know, and sure, we have a lot of modern conveniences, you know, social media, iPhones, wonderful gadgets to, you know, somewhat offset this, but I think most of us are realizing that, you know, the shine's coming off the rose. Most of us are realizing that, you know, these things are not what we need to live a fulfilling life, and a lot of the things that we do need to live a fulfilling life are becoming increasingly difficult to get, in some cases prohibitively difficult to get for a lot of people. The thing is, the system, if you'll allow me to anthropomorphize it, there's no, you know, the system with a consciousness, but, you know, there does seem to be, it can be helpful to think of it as something that, you know, has objectives and is trying to do things, just because as humans, that's kind of how we understand things, and, you know, it would not be, you know, comprehensible for us to try to actually break it down to the level it's at. So I'm just going to anthropomorphize, just understand that that's what I'm doing. I'm not saying there's actually an entity out there that's trying to do this. The system tries to essentially get you to take the blame for all these things yourself, rather than, you know, blame systemic factors, right? It, in a way, is protecting itself, and it doesn't use a one-size-fits-all system. There are, you know, different types of people, and they're going to need different persuasion methods to get them to internalize the blame for things, rather than, you know, blaming systemic factors, right? Broadly speaking, these people can be kind of divided into right wing and left wing, and these are the primary, you know, I guess we'll say persuasion methods that the system gets each faction to use to internalize blame, rather than put the blame on external systemic factors. So for the right-wingers, what typically gets used is the cult of personal responsibility. Now, obviously, most people would agree that personal responsibility is a good thing, right? I mean, you know, you should take responsibility for things. You shouldn't always be trying to shift the blame. You should, you know, try to be responsible for your own success, and, you know, do all the things that you need to do, right? The thing is, that can be exaggerated to an extreme where it's no longer a virtue. You know, virtues, I believe it was Aristotle that said that a virtue is the happy medium between two extreme vices. In this case, the extreme of not taking any responsibility for your life, and, you know, not taking responsibility for your own actions, that would be a vice. But also saying that everything is your own personal responsibility, and, you know, that's also a vice. You're essentially simping when you take responsibility for everything that happens to you, because a lot of it's happening to you for other reasons. You're kind of simping for people who are, you know, contributing to negative things that happen to you, essentially, when you take extreme responsibility for every single outcome, right? You know, there's a happy medium, and that's going to involve taking a lot of responsibility. But you've seen a lot of things in a lot of media push towards men, maybe of a more right-wing persuasion, just this idea of extreme personal responsibility, extreme ownership, just everything that happens to you, your wealth, your success with women, all of it is just completely on you, and no, you know, you should never blame anyone else or look for any external factor that may be, you know, limiting you. It's all on you. Just get your mindset right, and get, and if you even think that there might be some kind of external factor that is keeping you down, well, then that's going to hinder, you know, your mindset so that you can achieve success, right? And this, I mean, quite frankly, this is simply a way of getting people of this sort to, you know, not look at external problems. This is self-serving at multiple levels. It's kind of fractal in a way. Like, a lot of the people pushing this are kind of self-help gurus who make a living by selling life advice, you know, life coaching, things of that nature. They're telling you how to live and how to get good outcomes. So this is self-serving to them, because obviously, you know, if they give you advice and it doesn't work and you don't get the outcomes, well, you can't blame them, because you have to take personal responsibility. You just didn't execute right? But then, you know, at a broader level, it's kind of if you bring fractal, if you bring the lens out and, you know, look at the bigger picture, it's also self-serving. It also serves the system as a whole, because, you know, these people aren't going to be looking for, like, you know, if for example their issues are money, they're not going to be looking as much at, okay, well, what, you know, government policies are potentially hindering me from, you know, what I am trying to get. What are big corporations doing that's hindering me from getting what I'm trying to get? You know, what external systemic factors are making it difficult for me to live the life I want to live, make money the way I want, and actually, you know, be able to be successful in that way. You know, you can't look at that because, you know, in this ideology, you're you know, that's just going to hinder you, and you're never going to be successful if you're looking for any external factors. So then no one of that ideology looks for external factors and puts blame where it needs to be and tries to change things, right? That's, you know, in a nutshell, I think that's kind of what I think of this excessive extreme responsibility that a lot of more, you know, not, you know, vaguely right-wing types preach. What they do to get the left to, you know, I think a little bit more insidiously accept personal responsibility and, you know, stop looking for systemic factors. And I mean, the left does, you know, certainly present systemic factors. They talk about that, but they, you know, they generally want to direct those away from, you know, real money and power. But anyway, the way the left, or, you know, more broadly speaking, left-leaning media sources try to insidiously get people to take personal responsibility for all their problems is through emphasizing mental health. Now, obviously, mental health is a real thing. It's important to have good mental health, and there are some very severe mental health issues that can cause, you know, serious problems that should all be addressed appropriately, right? I mean, being aware of mental health and taking care of it, you know, is certainly a good thing, not a bad thing, right? But again, an excessive emphasis on mental health, you know, everybody taking care of their mental health, everybody needs therapy, you know, everyone just needs to, like, your mental health needs to be something that you're focused on and taking care of. You know, it kind of makes it seem like the reasons that so many people these days are unhappy, broadly speaking, having problems, is that they have mental health issues they're not taking care of, and that the solution is just for them to be better about taking care of their mental health. You know, or, you know, to get help, what have you, right? But either way, you know, there's some emphasis on them taking care of their mental health, right? The issue with that is, again, it gets you to internalize the issues and not think, you know, hey, maybe I'm really unhappy, unfulfilled, and depressed, and, you know, whatever, what have you, anxious, all these things. You know, it's something that's inside of me, and it's my responsibility to, you know, care for myself, whether that be getting therapy, taking personal days, what have you, right? As opposed to, hey, this whole thing is constructed in a way that makes humans, you know, unhappy as a general rule. And while yes, I am unhappy, and maybe I even have legitimate mental health problems as a result of it, you know, going to therapy and, you know, and all that stuff is probably just slapping a Band-Aid on something. It's not fixing the root problem. So I think with those, you know, there are other I'm sure there are other ways that we do this, but those are, I think, kind of the two ways that the system, if you will, splits us up and directs us towards an option to take personal responsibility for systemic problems that is more suited to our own psychology and makes us, you know, suited to our biases and makes us feel good, and, you know, that we're happy to devote ourselves toward. You know, if you told a bunch of right-wing guys to, you know, go to therapy and take mental health breaks, they're you know, they're not going to want that, you know. But if you just tell them to take more responsibility, get up at 4 a.m. and just, you know, give them all that stuff, they'll eat it up. And, you know, obviously the people on the left are probably not going to want a bunch of gung-ho, take more responsibility for your life stuff, you know. But if you tell them, oh, mental health, they'll eat it up, right? But the outcome is exactly the same. You just have people, you know, constantly consuming content that's telling them that it's all about what they're doing and there's nothing outside of them that is affecting them. And all the solutions are, you know, something that they're doing, whether that be therapy or waking up at 4 a.m. and taking more extreme ownership of their lives. I hope that helps kind of put things into context. And I'm not saying either one of those is right or wrong, and I'm not, you know, But I hope that puts a little bit more, I hope that, I guess, explains why I think that both of these things are kind of excessive, and not really in the benefit of the people that they're allegedly trying to help, and in fact in the benefit of both the people who are directly, you know, putting them out there and the system as a whole. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you like more, you know, idea-focused videos like this.